This is a demonstration of the integration between Jama and LDRA. To have performed this integration, we had to create some types. Jama provides the ability for you to define additional types. Instead of using the test case generic type, we actually broke it up into high-level and low-level test cases. Within those particular types, we added some fields. One of the very interesting ones is the LDRA verification status. After we have executed some test cases in LDRA and export from LDRA back into Jama to update the Jama project, what we need to do is import the Jama project information. We can do that several ways. We can do it through the project tree, or we can do it graphically through the unit view. And now I'm going to do the import. I'm going to right click, select the Jama import from Jama. I'm going to need to create a connection. I'll call it Jama connection. Give it a server address, username, and password. And testing that connection ensures that I've entered the appropriate information. I'm going to now select the project that I need to bring in that information from. That's the tunnel lighting system. I'm going to select now what I'm importing, which is the system requirements. These are requirements. I'm going to refresh the Jama attributes. Everything looks correct, and I'm going to perform that import. Here's the list of all the system level requirements. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK to import all of them, but note that we have options to select a few. Now that I've imported the requirements, let's take a look at the default perspective, where we see that we have our groups that we've just imported, but also very important is we see this information, the linkage to traceability that exists. See that? So we could import now the high-level test cases. Confirm that. We actually now see our very first test case imported into and where it maps to. This high level requirement maps to this high level test case. Let's go ahead and do the low level test, the import. Confirm the import of all of those test cases. And actually we see now that there is the low level test cases. What we want to do next is bring in the code and execute test cases against that code. So let's go ahead and map this to the actual source code. And I'm going to choose the LAMP code. And I can actually map that to the test case. And I can also map that to the low-level requirement. Let's now execute this test case or create a test case against the code. So to exercise that particular unit, it created multiple test cases with different input and output values. And everything is passed. Now, by closing it, it publishes the information. So it creates this artifact that we can look at. And also note that the little red dot is now green. So let's take a look at the published information. There's a regression report. And as we look at it, the information is test results have passed. Let's go ahead and update the Jama project with that information. Where it's a low-level test, we're going to export to Jama. I can export all of the test case verification information, or I can choose just the one that we executed. Let's refresh the Java attributes. Verification is what we want to export. Everything is correct. We set this up during the import. That information has been exported. Coming back to the Jama dashboard, let's navigate through and find the test case with the LDRA verification field modified. Here it is. Let's dive into it. What was modified was the LDRA verification status. What we can do to update the test case status, we want to select our test runs. There's only one test run for this particular test case. We're going to perform the batch update, hit next, mark it as passed, and commit that change. We can now see that that test case has been marked as passed. Let's navigate back to the dashboard. Update the graphic. We can see now that there is a test case that has passed, which is 2% out of all the low-level test case statuses. So this concludes the presentation.